Welcome to a Thursday night YouTube video. I've got a card tutorial for you, and we're going to be using the Loveliest Tree bundle. This is a stamp and die bundle. Red rubber stamps, you get 6, and then you've got dies, and there are 7 coordinating dies, okay? And there is a sale coming June 5th through the 30th. Where you will take an extra 10% off stamp and die bundles, as well as the stamp and cut and emboss machines. So I wanted you to be aware of those. If I were you, I'd make my list, hold off, and place your orders as early as possible because it will be while supplies last, and you don't want to miss out. Of course, if something's out that you want, just keep checking back throughout the month or contact your demonstrator and they may be able to tell you when stock is expected to be back in. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. I'm gonna see if I can find the video so I can see the comments. And let's see. It's going to let me get in there. There we go. Let me look right there, and then I should be able to bring up the comments, I hope. No. Okay, well, that's not real cool. Not sure how I'm going to find those comments. It is not showing them to me. Okay. Let's see if I can figure it out. I don't. Yes, I'm here. I'm just trying to see where I'm going to get my comments at, so I can see what y'all are saying. Oh, there we go. Hi, Tracy. I don't know what I finally did to make that work, but I did. So there we are. Okay, so this will be another project tonight with the Loveliest Tree bundle, like I said. And let's go ahead and get started. Should be a pretty quick card. And again, tonight, you guys, I'm having a rough time with the bronchopneumonia, so we're going to see how this goes. Hopefully, it won't be too painful. Okay, so in addition to the Loveliest Trees, I'm using the Timber 3D embossing folder. And I've taken a piece of Early Espresso cardstock, and I've cut that at 4 by 5 1/4, 4 by 5 1/4, and I've embossed it with the 3D embossing folder. And when I put this in, I put it in so that my paper was this direction so that I would get my pattern to be up and down. Of course, you can put it in the other way and have it side to side if you like, but that's not what I was looking for. And we are actually going to use the debossed side tonight for our card. We're using the textured dots adhesive, the adhesive back textured dots. And I'm going to use the Nested Essentials dies. We'll be using this second to the smallest die here. And finally, we're going to be using the Spotlight on Nature die. And these, we're going to be using the largest one of these. And I didn't poke out all the little pokies. I need to get that done before the next project. But now the Spotlight on Nature, this can be purchased in a bundle. It has a stamp set that goes along with. So it's one to keep in mind for next week when the sale goes live. This is the stamp set that coordinates that you can get in a bundle. Okay. And then for the inside sentiment, I've pulled, I hope your day is filled with joy from the heart-filled hexagons, but you could use any sentiment that you have on hand. And then I'm going to be using some early espresso ink and a few of our Stampin' Write markers, but we're going to set those aside and we'll talk about those when we get there. Let's go ahead and start with our stamping. We're going to stamp our tree in early espresso, and we're going to stamp our sentiment also in early espresso. We're going to do a little bit more with that. So let's go ahead and ink up our stamp. We're going to take the large tree stamp. I'm going to ink that up in early espresso. And I'm going to stamp that down. This is just a scrap piece of basic white. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to close that up. I still need that. I'm going to grab my stamp positioning tool, though, for my sentiment, because we're going to clear emboss the sentiment. So I'm going to take a piece of crumb cake cardstock, and I'm going to put that in my stamp positioner. And I'm just going to stick down happy birthday here. This is also from the Loveliest Trees. And before I actually do that, I'm going to take my pad out because I don't need that because this is rubber. And then we're going to grab our embossing buddy, and I'm going to emboss that crumb cake. Put that in there. And then we're going to ink that up with the early espresso ink. I've been doing quite a bit of this clear embossing for my over-colored ink lately. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to clean that stamp real quick because I don't want the early espresso in my Versamark. And when you clean that, be careful that you don't move that stamp. And then I'm just going to pat that dry with my hand. Take my Versamark ink. Make sure that my paper's in the corner. Ink that up really well. And give that a press. And I'm going to go, I'll clean that later. Bring in our Embossing Additions Toolkit. This is clear embossing powder. And I'm just going to pour this over a sentiment. Give that a good flick. With the clear embossing powder, it's not quite so critical that you get everything off, but it's always a good idea. And then I'm going to take my reverse tweezers that come in that kit so that I don't burn my fingers. It's going to be a little bit loud. And we'll just heat that up until the powder melts, and it'll go from a frosted look to a nice early espresso. Okay, so we've got that. Now we can go ahead and set all of those things aside because we don't need them. Let's go ahead and bring in our mini cut and emboss machine at this point. And we're going to cut out our sentiment using those nested essentials. Okay. So I've got plate 1 and plate 2. Now, if you have a mini cut and emboss machine and you have trouble, you can use either one of the gray plates that also comes with the machine, and that will alleviate your problems. Mine works fine the way it is, so I don't need to do that. But some people do have trouble. So that's the fix. Just use one of the thinner gray plates. It will still cut fine, and it will go through your machine a little easier. Stampin' Up! Does recommend that when you put your top plates on, you don't line everything up. So let's go ahead and get this lined up. And I'll put a piece of Post-it tape here. And then I'm going to put that at just a tiny bit of an angle. And when I line this up, I'm just going to make sure that I've got a plate, and then my middle plate is behind, and then I've got my bottom plate, and they're not all aligned, and it rolls right through the machine with no issues. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll get that out of the way. Now we've got our sentiment together, and that's ready. Okay, and set those aside and put that away. We're going to bring back in our tree here, and we're going to color that up. And we're going to use those Stampin' Blends. And this is my color palette. And you might think it's a little on the odd side, but I really liked the way this tree came out when I did this. So we've got light and dark mossy meadow. Oh, and this is a light mossy meadow too, because my light mossy meadow doesn't work very good. I just haven't labeled it. And light and dark pretty peacock. So that's our color palette. So I'm going to start with the light mossy meadow, but I'm going to use the new one. And I'm just going to color in most of these. I'll leave some areas. And I probably should have done my early espresso first. Or my pecan pie, I mean. For the tree branches, but we're going to go back and add those in a bit here. And you can see I'm not being precise about my coloring. It doesn't have to be. This image is very forgiving, and the way we're doing it, by adding the different colors, we're going to go back in and fill those in. Okay, so I've got the light mossy meadow. I'm going to go back with my dark mossy meadow. And I'm just going to throw in some colors here. Swish in a little bit here and there. And again, remember, I'm not being precise. Doesn't really matter. I need to fix that tip on this one. Use the other tip. Okay, so I'm going to go with that. Then I'm going to go to my light pretty peacock. And I'm going to swish that in here and there. Okay, and then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to take my light pecan pie and color in my branches. I would actually recommend that if you're making this card, you do your branches first. But I forgot to do that, so we're going to do it this way. It'll all work. Okay, that. Then I'm going to go back with my dark pecan pie here. I'm just going to swish in a little bit of dark here and there, just to give a little bit of depth of color. And then now wherever I have white, I'm going to go back with my light mossy meadow. I'm going to finish this all up. Okay, and that looks good. And then I'm going to a little bit of light mossy meadow down here on the ground. Throw in a little bit of dark just to give some definition and texture. I'm going to go back and blend those two together. All right. And there, oops, is our image, but I forgot this branch right here. Okay. So there's our image. And now we're going to go ahead and cut that out with our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So we're going to bring that back in real quick. And we're going to grab that large tree die that goes along with this. Okay. And we're just going to set that in there. Line that up. And again, I'll use a little bit of Post-it tape. And then roll that on through. Okay. So there are our pieces. Oh, I forgot one piece. Okay. Well, let's go ahead. I need to stamp that. Hang on. We need this and the early espresso ink. Should have done that at the same time. I actually have one done ahead, but I didn't want to show you how to color it. So we're going to bring this in. I'm going to bring my light mossy meadow back. And I'm going to color these 3 leaves in the mossy meadow. And then I'm going to add a little bit of dark. And then I'm going to bring in my light pretty peacock and just add just some tones of that. And then go back with the light and blend that all together. Okay. And that will lighten up as it dries, as you can see here. Okay, so I've already colored that and cut it out, so I'm not going to cut that one again. There's no need to bring back in the machine. All right, so let's go ahead and put our pieces together. So we've got a crumb cake card base, standard A2 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the center at 4.25. And then I'm going to take that piece of early espresso that I embossed with the Timber 3D embossing folder, and I'm using the debossed side, not the side that we typically use. I'm just going to add this to the front of my card. I'm using Tombow mono adhesive, liquid mono adhesive glue. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to grab our Spotlight on Nature die, which hopefully is in this little bag hiding. And there it is. Okay, and we're going to put this down. It's going to go like this. So let's go ahead. We're just going to add that. I'm going to do that with some liquid glue. Hang on. I'm going to burnish my glue there. Now my card will lay flat. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put this on. And just lay that in there. Okay. And then we're going to take our tree, and ahead of time I cut out 2 other trees in the basic white, and we're just going to glue these all together. I'm going to layer them all together rather than using dimensionals. I just wanted to give this a little bit of added depth. So I'm going to stack my die cuts. This is a way to add a little bit of dimension without adding too much height. It'll set that up just a little bit. So we'll just line those all up. Make sure all the edges are even here. And the liquid glue allows us to slide everything right into place. Once I have it all together, I like to take and use my bone folder and burnish that all together. And then we'll go ahead and add this to our card, and it gives it a little bit of depth and dimension without a ton. So we're going to add some adhesive. And add this to our card. Like so. And then we've got our birthday card here, and our birthday, happy birthday. We're going to grab a couple of dimensionals for that. And add this to our card, and we're going to put this right down here like so. And I put my dimensionals in the center because I want to stick that leaf in. Just line that up straight. And then we've got our leaf, pre-cut leaf right here. And I'm just going to add this with a little bit of liquid glue here. And we're just going to stick that right in here like so. And then we're going to tie a bow with some linen thread. I'm going to use a double bow. I like to tie on the spool so that I don't waste a bunch of excess ribbon, or in this case, thread. Then I'll cut that off. And now I've only, that's my throwaway piece, a very small waist. Okay, let's go ahead and pull that off. And then we're going to take a glue dot. And we'll add that to our glue dot right on the roll. And then I like to take my tweezers and on both sides of the glue dot, pinch it together and squish it. And then I'll take and put this right up here along the top of my happy birthday. Oh, you know what I did? Hang on. I just remembered. I'm going to pull that up, because what I actually did to give that a little bit of extra height was I took my, take your pick, I'm going to roll that into a little dot, put that where I want my bow to go, and then I'm going to put my other glue dot on top, in essence stacking my glue dots. But because this is so small, I needed to do it that way rather than stack them one on top of the other. Okay, so we've got that. And the final thing for the front of our card is those textured dots. What did I do with those? Right here. Put them right here. The adhesive back textured dots. These are very, very thin. So I love these. They work well, especially if you're doing a masculine card. Which this will easily work for that. So we've got 2 small and 1 large. And that is the front of our card. So for the inside of my card, I've already stamped that. And I've got those leaves stamped and colored just like I did on the front. And then I took that sentiment from Heartfelt Hexagon and stamped that in Early Espresso. And I'm going to put that inside my card. And then finally, what we need is an envelope. And so let's grab our envelope, which apparently I did not pre-do. I mean, I did one for my sample card, but apparently I didn't do one for this one. So we're just going to grab an envelope. And I need my scratch piece of paper that I had here. And we're going to take that large tree again and the Early Espresso ink. And I'm going to ink that up. And then I'm going to stamp it off. And then I'm going to stamp it down on my envelope, which will give me a real light tree, but just enough to make my envelope look beautiful. Okay, so there is our card project for tonight with the loveliest tree. I'm so glad you like those circle dies. And thank you. I'm glad you liked the card. All right, so if you like what you see, and if you're watching on the replay, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you know whenever I upload a video. And that if you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up. That helps my channel grow. And I will see you back here next Thursday night at 7 p.m. Thanks so much, everybody. Good night.